What is up, everybody? It's Josh, and welcome to Realm of the Dead, a paranormal podcast. This is the first ever episode for this podcast, and I'm super excited to bring it to you guys. This has been an idea for almost 2 years now, and it's finally coming to life, and I have my very first guest ever. This is somebody I've been talking to a lot on X, Twitter lately. And I'm glad to have him on. Welcome, Exploring with Phill.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to get into it. Like you said, we've been talking, going back and forth, talking about different paranormal things, and for like it seems like forever now. So it's great to get like a face to the name and to actually talk to you in person and talk the paranormal, something we both love. So I'm excited, and to be the first one on your new and on this brand new venture. I mean, this is
first
awesome.
One ever. First one ever. So we'll just jump right into it. Can you kind of give us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the paranormal and doing the things that you do? Because you do some crazy stuff. You get into like what seems like the cryptids and the legends, and you go crazy, man. So can you just kind of give us a little bit about everything?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so I got into the paranormal probably at an early age. I had a couple paranormal experiences throughout my life growing up that made me be, obviously ask more questions and be like, oh, what's really going on with not only what happened to me, but what's happening, across, everywhere, because you hear all these claims, whether it's cryptids, ghosts, or whatever. There's a lot of different things that are out there. And especially when I was growing up, there really wasn't a lot of like TV and paranormal. Like I remember when I was in high school, I'm kind of dating myself here, but that's when Ghost Hunters came out. So like Ghost Hunters was like the first real paranormal show, which felt, at the time at least, it felt more real and authentic, and be like, wow, these people are actually investigating. And it's which kind of is pretty much branches off into what we do and the kind of the styles that we do. It all kind of stems from that show, and and obviously Ghost Adventures and Beyond and all the things we have now. But before that, it was like Unsolved Mysteries. You get like 1 out of every 6 episodes there'd be some paranormal thing. Other than that, it was very fringe. A lot of people didn't believe in the paranormal, and if you did believe in the paranormal, it was probably because you had some sort of experience that left you asking more. So so my interest in the paranormal started from a very young age. And then it blossomed into, like I said, these other TV shows. And then it got to the point where I kind of wanted to do this, like, try it for myself and see if, I've always wanted to investigate, like I said, always interested in it and stuff like that. So, which led me to kind of getting into, paranormal investigating. But kind of what got me into at least my area and the legends and the lore was definitely the Bridgewater Triangle documentary, which, for those who are not familiar with the Bridgewater Triangle, it's just the triangulation area in southeastern Massachusetts that is just filled with all sorts of paranormal claims. We're talking not only ghost stuff, we're talking cryptid stuff, talking UFO stuff, obviously legends and history, tons of history here. So you add all this thing into the mix, and it's just a very crazy area for paranormal activity. And so that's kind of how I got started into the paranormal. I've been doing it for I think this is my 3rd year now, officially doing it, like doing YouTube and all that stuff. So it's been a wild ride for sure. Yeah, man, I'm excited about how it's going and where I've been and where I'm going in the future. So
yeah, I mean, you're going crazy. Like, it seems like anytime I see you posting on Twitter or anything, you're somewhere, or you have posted something about an experience that you had. You're just going crazy. So like, about like the legends and stuff, you said you watched a documentary, but have you always been a believer in, let's say, like the legends of like Bigfoot or Mothman or the Goat Man, like stuff like that? Have you always been a believer, or is there one point where you were kind of skeptical and you're like, I don't know, these things kind of really seem out of pocket?
yeah, for sure. That's a great question. I would say I think I was a lot like a lot of other people. Like I wouldn't necessarily like take anything out of the realm of possibility, but I would probably be more skeptical for sure, at least before I started investigating about cryptids and stuff like that. Outside of my uncle, who had his own cryptid encounter with a Pukwudgie in the 80s, which is kind of a wild experience in itself.
Okay.
But like it was weird because at the time, growing up, there wasn't before the Bridgewater Triangle documentary, which is like 2015. I mean, the even the phrase Bridgewater Triangle wasn't like a household name. It wasn't like things people talked about or even knew about, let alone a Pukwudgie. So my uncle had this encounter in the 80s and just chalked it up as like a demonic encounter, which they may be demonic. I'm not 100% sure, but he just, at the time, a lot of people didn't even know that was even a thing. And so then fast forward, then I start hearing about Pukwudgies and what they look like, and I'm like kind of putting two and two together, and I'm like, I talked to my uncle about it. I'm like, do you think that encounter you had in the 80s was like a Pukwudgie? And he's like, yeah, I do. It's described. He describes it exactly the same as a Pukwudgie. Now, for those people who don't know what a Pukwudgie is, because I'm probably throwing this word out, people don't even know.
I actually don't even know what it is. I've just heard the name from other people going out and kind of searching for them. So I have no clue either. So please, if you can
absolutely.
give a description and maybe what the legend about them are, that'd be cool.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. So a Pukwudgie is part of the Algonquin lore, and also the Wampanoag lore. That's the tribe that lives near me. And so they're known as like a trickster type entity, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 foot tall, completely covered in hair, kind of has like a humanistic like face, but not obviously completely covered in hair, not like human like at all. They can disappear and reappear at will. They've been known to like children, or I don't know if it to what end. I think that's an interesting part. Like I said, they're known as tricksters. So what I think is most interesting about the legend of them all together is they can it's very drastic. They can either save your life and lead you out of danger, or they could lead you to danger and right to your death. So it's a very drastic. It's a very drastic, like, two sides of the coin there. You're like, what is really going on with this kind of an entity? So that's what they're known as. They're not only in New England area, there are also legends of them in Maryland, Indiana, and in my opinion, I think they're probably everywhere in the United States, in my opinion. Anywhere with some sort of Native American connection.
Yeah. To me, it kind of sounds just a little similar to like the leprechaun, legend.
Mm-hmm.
That they're tricksters. They want you to go for the pot of gold or whatever. That legend. That's kind of what I'm getting from that, and it kind of makes sense. It's just a different legend from a different tribe and or culture of things. So with that, have you always been a believer of the ghosts, like paranormal? Because you said you were kind of skeptical about the cryptids and the legends, stuff like that. So how about ghosts? How about the dead? Did you always believe in the afterlife?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really it definitely stems from that first experience, so which I'll tell you. So I was only 4 years old, just about to turn 5 years old. And so we live in this apartment at the time where it's a 2-floor apartment. First floor is the kitchen, living room, and then that's where my bedroom is. And then upstairs is my mom and dad's bedroom. So it was during the day. My mom's down in the kitchen doing mom stuff, either making a meal or cleaning, doing something, taking care of my brother who's little. So I'm upstairs playing by myself, and then all of a sudden in this room, there's no one else there but me. I hear glass break, and then I hear like someone, I can't remember if it was laughing or talking, but it was definitely a female. And of course I'm looking around, there's no one there. And so as a 4-year-old, I'm petrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, because at the time Ghostbusters was out.
Your mom's downstairs and now you're hearing a woman's voice from basically right there. Yeah, I totally get that.
So you're like, there's no one here, what's going on, you know what I mean? And especially as a little kid, you're like, I'm done, I'm petrified. I run downstairs. I tell my mom, someone broke glass upstairs, all this stuff. Of course we go up there, there's no one up there, there's no glass up there, even nothing broke, which I think is a weird. So it was like a phantom noise,
but
nothing. Yeah, very strange. So that was just the experience. It stuck with me so much that at my 5th birthday party, which was probably like a month later, I had told my cousins about the experience, and they started doing like whistle noises, and then we were pretending it was a ghost and running away from the the ghosts and stuff like that. So like, it definitely stuck with me as an experience for sure.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, as a 4-year-old and you're, experiencing these things, you don't know whether or not you can tell anybody or not. They're gonna think you're playing around.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, I mean, as a kid, like I tell everybody, I started, believing and like really trying to investigate and stuff when I was about 10. So if I ever told anybody, they'd think I'm crazy. So
Yeah.
I totally get that, where it's like, yeah, now I'm kind of making fun of everything because, well, it happened, but nobody believes me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so what got you into like starting to post what you're investigating on YouTube? Because I know each person has a different story. It's like they kind of just hopped on the trend of, let's post paranormal stuff on YouTube. But then there's other people that are like, well, I really just wanted to show off all of this stuff and not just keep it to myself. So what got you into making sure that you could post this evidence and that you really wanted to kind of pursue that?
Yeah, that's such an interesting start. So for me, it started with Randonautica, honestly. So when
Okay.
when Randonautica came out, I obviously was seeing the videos and being like,
Right.
what's going on here? You know what I mean? Is this
Like
really
weird. Like, is this app really
right?
is it gonna really find you this stuff
Right.
that everybody's finding? Like
Yeah.
just like, Yasko, that's how I found him. And every time I watch the video, I'm like, is he really finding this stuff or did he plant this stuff? So
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
100%. Yeah. So that's I'm seeing all these videos like him, especially, and I'm like, this is very entertaining, but what's really happening here? What's really going on? So I kind of wanted to like use the app, go out there and go like to haunted locations and use the app in or notoriously haunted locations,
Right.
Bridgewater Triangle, and then use different words and stuff, like paranormal or pukwudgie, or
Right.
to try to see if I could, what would happen if I did that. And then that sort of turned into, once I started doing that in haunted locations, then I started doing like EVP sessions, and then
Okay.
then I got like a spirit box. Then it slowly started going away from Aeronautica and basically then just doing paranormal investigations,
Okay, so
just straight up.
you never actually like started or intended for it to be strictly paranormal. You started with Randonautica just like some of the other people that now basically strictly do paranormal and or like, camping videos and stuff like that.
Yes,
So
right.
that's cool because like not everybody has the same story. Like even me, I don't have the same story. So to like hear everybody's, different ways of how they started is super cool. And Randonautica is one of those things that kind of don't even exist anymore. Like
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
really, it's kind of non-existent. So to be able to start with something that has now kind of ended is super cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I got some interesting evidence out of it for sure. I mean, going to any haunted location, you're gonna get like results and stuff like that for sure. But
Right.
using the Randonautica app was definitely interesting because I had a few instances where, one particular time it led me to a spot where I got a spirit box response that said, because I was asking about who removed bodies from the swamp, the Huckamuck Swamp, one of the most
Okay.
more notorious locations in the Bridgewater Triangle. And so I asked the question, who removed bodies from the swamp? And without skipping a beat, right in the spirit box, it said a witch, you know?
That's that's crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so I would have never gone over to that spot if it wasn't for Randonautica bringing me to that spot.
Okay.
So it's like things
Yeah.
like that are interesting. You know what I mean? But nothing ever
So
crazy happened.
you could give it to Randonautica for starting you
Yeah. Yeah.
on this path of,
Yeah.
well, what you're accomplishing now. I mean, you're doing great, man. You're doing
Thank
great.
you, man. I appreciate it, man. It's like I said, it's all a learning process, like learning as you
Absolutely.
go, and so like, you get better and better. Well, the key is to hopefully get better and better at what you're doing.
Right.
And then I think if you do that, you'll be fine. And yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
It's as it's hard work,
Oh,
it's
it's yeah.
and you just gotta, keep on grinding, but
Oh
um,
yeah. No, you definitely do.
you
I
know,
just started doing it full time, so yeah, it's definitely like crazy. Just go go go.
yeah.
So what is like one of the craziest experiences you've had while either investigating the paranormal or going out and kind of discovering these legends and cryptids? Like, what was that thing that happened that made you kind of like go, holy crap, like it just changed everything for you?
Man, there's so many moments I could bring up. But I'll give you this moment because I think it's just like it's just a wild experience. I still don't know. I still can't explain what it was, but it's definitely you could classify it as cryptid. You could classify it as a
Okay.
pukwudgie. You could classify it as some sort of, definitely an entity, for sure. Some sort of entity that's definitely not a spirit, something that has more power than a spirit. At least in my opinion, just based on like what happens here in this.
Okay.
So I'm in the Huckamuck Swamp. It's winter time, actually kind of like around this kind of time period, January, February. And usually around this time of year, the swamp gets frozen over a lot. So like it'll be pretty frozen and
Right.
quiet, really quiet, because there's not a lot of animals and stuff. So you don't really hear a lot of birds. I mean, you might hear some here or there, but generally it's probably the most quiet part of the year, which is great
Okay.
for paranormal investigating because if you're looking for voices or EVPs or stuff, you don't have a lot of
Literally
background
have
noise,
that focus right there.
right, to compete
Yeah.
with or something. Some bird makes a noise or something. You're like, I can't quite hear that. And so it's pretty quiet out there. And I'm just, I'm over by one of these power stations. And for those people who haven't seen it before, basically it's swamp on both sides, a path, a dirt path in the middle, and then there's like these power stations that kind of go through the swamp, basically. And so I'm over by one of these power stations that have had a lot of different weird things happen, including this particular day. So I'm standing there, and then I'm just about to do a spirit box. I'm like, you know what? I think I'll do a spirit box. And then all of a sudden I hear a large bang in the swamp. And
In
then
the
in the swamp, which is, I would say, 100 feet in front of me,
Right.
right? A large bang. And then all of a sudden a tree falls down in the swamp. Like I can hear a tree fall and I can hear it smash down into
Yeah.
the water, break through the ice, like the whole thing. And so I'm like, that's crazy to actually catch it on camera. And so just catching that is cool. So I go home and review the evidence. And at that exact moment where I catch the hit of the tree before it falls, I catch an EVP at that exact moment. And the EVP sounds like someone exerting energy or like hitting something, or like, how tennis players, when they hit a tennis ball or something,
Yeah.
they'll be like, huh.
Yeah.
It sounded just like that. It was like, huh.
No.
Dude,
That's
crazy. At the exact moment of this tree getting hit and then falling. So that
Yeah, that's
alone would be cool.
crazy.
That's crazy, right? Okay, listen to this.
Yeah, I mean,
It's even crazier.
I don't
So
even know
then,
if I could sleep. I don't even know if I could sleep after like hearing a EVP like that. I don't know, man. Like I've caught some crazy ones, but
yeah.
catching like somebody exerting force and then a tree falling is
Yeah, wild. So I hear this and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And so then right after this moment, I start hearing like things like movement in there, like inside the swamp,
Right, like you said, it's quiet, it's frozen.
It's frozen. So like, of course I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a person or something. So of course I'm like, hello, hello, hello. No one answers ever. And so I get a little bit closer. I go behind the little power stations. I get as close as I can to see, because I'm like, I'm starting to hear things. And so
Right.
I start hearing what sounds like glass bottles and cans, like aluminum cans, like moving around. Like as if someone's like shuffling through cans, looking through cans,
Right.
moving them around. Of course, I hear this and I'm like, hello, hello. No one's there. I mean, we're talking 30, 40 feet, 50 feet in front of me. You know what I mean? So if someone's there, they would know, they would hear me. They'd be like, yeah, I'm in here. Sorry. Whatever.
Right.
But it's no one's responding. And so that kind of develops into like this large like bang, and then what sounds like it's like a beeping noise, like beep boop, bang, beep boop, bang, like over and over.
It's like
and
you're
over.
in Star Wars, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
crazy.
Like, so I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean? What is going on in there? It's just like repeated. And, obviously I'm
Right.
saying hello, nothing's responding. So then I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's a drone in there. Maybe, but I don't know, dude. There's way too many unexplainable things to be like,
Yeah.
this isn't a drone. So then I go a little bit further, and well, actually I kind of like moved down the pathway because I'm like, maybe I can get a better vantage point if I go around the corner here. Maybe I can
Right.
see something. And so then I'm still hearing the beeping and the bang, and then hear the beep again, and then it's a bang, but this time it sounds like when it hits, whenever it's hitting, it smashes into like a million pieces, whatever it is. So like something hits something and you could just hear it fall all over the
Almost
ice.
like when glass shatters.
Yes,
Like when
that's
it just
exactly, yes. And it like it was like falling all
right.
over the ice, whatever it was, whatever got shattered. It's just a crazy, crazy experience. So fast forward a week later, because I had to go back. So I went back a week
Right.
later. And in between all this, I did catch I caught some EVPs and stuff, a couple women that asked how old I was, and then
That's
asked,
crazy.
yeah, right near, like probably 3 feet in front of me or something like that. Very strange.
Yeah.
So I go back the next week. I'm hearing the beeping and the bang again. So at this point, I'm like, hey, it's a week later. There's no way, if this is a machine, or it would be still operational.
Right.
It's been a week. It's been over a week. So I'm hearing it again. And so I carry this word bank on my iPad, which is like, it works. It allegedly ghosts and spirits can say things through it or whatever. One word
Right. It's kind of
responses.
like Ovilus.
That's
Kind of
exactly
like
it.
the Ovilus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
exactly it. So I'm hearing all this noises again. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening again. So I go back there. I get the word bank response, entity, right? And I'm like, oh my
Oh
God,
God.
it
Yeah.
just said it just said the word bank response entity, and then it says, come see. And it was like,
Yeah.
entity, come see. It was like, why don't you come in here and come take a look and see what this
Right.
is. Like
That's
essentially, like I said, yeah, trying to get me to go in there, essentially.
yeah. Anytime something tells me to go somewhere or come look at
Yeah.
something, I just
Yeah,
I'm like,
dude.
it may be time for me to just back off for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Huckenbuck Swamp's just a wild place. I caught the creepiest EVP I've ever caught was there, and it was
Yeah.
just of some sort of, honestly, dude, it sounded just like out of a horror movie or some sort of ghost movie. And it's just like it was like Get Out, but it said it like really, really drawn out. And
Yeah.
then it was followed by Kill Them, which is
So you've had you can't even just explain one crazy experience that you've had because you've had so many all within like one little time frame.
yeah, dude.
That's insane. Like
Yeah.
normally when I ask somebody, they can give me like 1 out of 4, but it's because it's like in different locations or something. Yours is only a week, a week out from each other. And did you ever like figure out what the beeping was? Like, did you ever actually like figure that out?
No, but that's the weirdest thing. So I went back a few months later and then I heard it again. And that was the last
That's
time. Yeah, isn't that weird? And that's the last time I heard it.
maybe it
So,
would maybe it's the power, like the power bases that are there, but
yeah,
it's still so weird that it would just be randomly beeping in the middle of a forest.
for sure. For sure. And then
Like,
you add in like some people say with like Dogman, right? There's like a beeping noise with Dogman. So then you add
Gotcha.
that into the mix. And then I'll tell you about another encounter, which kind of backs this up. So same location, same exact location, that same power station. I'm standing out there with a buddy, Kevin, from Maine. He has another podcast, Where the Weird Ones Are. Shout out to Kevin for going with me there. So we're standing there with the spirit box in our hand. We turn the spirit box on, and it says, "Get out of the way," twice. And of course, number one question, if you ask, they say that, what do you think I'm going to say? And I'm like, well, what are we in the way of? And without skipping
exactly.
a beat in the spirit box, demon, right? So then
No.
I'm like, that's not good. And of course, at the time, Kevin didn't hear it, and so I'm like, oh, thank God,
Right,
Kevin didn't hear it. So I'm like, all right, never mind. And so then I open up the spirit box, and then we hear literally in the spirit box. I've only heard this twice. It was a knock on a door, and so, which is weird, right? So
Which
I
is
get
weird because you're in the middle of the woods.
middle
like,
of the woods.
Like, there's not a cabin 100 feet in front of you. You're not
No,
gonna hear
no. And to get it through the spirit box, it was through the spirit box. Like,
Right.
so I was like, who's knocking on the door? And then we get the response, the door opened up, right? And
Nope.
so, listen to
No.
this. It gets crazier. So right behind me, right, as that says that, I swear to God, it sounded like somebody walking a dog walking up behind me. You know what? When someone
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So, dude, I whip
Absolutely
around.
not.
I'm looking. There's nothing there. And Kevin's like, I heard
Right.
that. It was like shuffling. There, I heard like feet shuffling. And I'm like,
No, absolutely not. No, no, absolutely not. No, if something was
yeah,
walking behind me and I couldn't see it, I'd start shooting a gun or something. I don't
yeah,
know. Like
right.
that. No, that's scary.
Dude,
Uh,
absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, this leads me into my next question. Um, where has been one like what is that one location that kind of set it for you that like you knew that the paranormal, investigating was going to be your thing? Like, was it the triangle, or was it, somewhere else? Because I know you go to the Bridgewater Triangle a lot, but is there
Yeah.
just a different place from there that kind of really snapped it for you, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm trying to think of like maybe if there was like a moment where I was like, oh man, this is some great evidence, or you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
I
even
would
if there was like a moment at a specific location that kind of like, it snapped
cemented
into
it.
place that this is like what you were gonna do.
Man, that's a great question. I don't know if I have a great answer for that. I would say it's probably I would probably have to say Huckamuck Swamp, just because
Okay.
it's the place I've been there the most, and it's
Right.
probably especially early on, I really leaned into the Huckamuck Swamp because it was location I knew, and it was a very big area, and I knew it was haunted. So anytime I had a spot where I was like, oh man, where am I gonna go? Where am I gonna film? I'd always go to the Huckamuck. So I've been there the
It's kind
most.
of like your home base. It's
Yeah,
kind of like your home
definitely.
base.
For
Yeah.
sure. For
Okay.
sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Any projects coming up that you're kind of excited to work on? Maybe anything you can talk about for the new stuff coming out, or is there
Yeah, sure.
is there anything that you want to tell everybody that they may not know yet?
Ooh, great. So yeah, I do have a couple legends that I've recorded, but I haven't edited yet. I could tell you
Okay.
about. So one of them I think it's just a cool legend, regardless of whether it's true or not. Which I find legends to be fascinating in general, because it's especially legends where, sometimes it's very localized. So I'm sure there's legends in
Right.
Florida that you only know
Oh
about,
yeah.
and so like
Crazy.
to take those legends and to bring them to a larger scale, I think is really cool. So one of these legends is there was a a man. Their last name was Seeley. Nathaniel was the son. I think John was the father. So John had this mill. We're talking early 1700s. Had this lumber mill, in this town called Easton, Massachusetts. He was a very respected guy. And then he leaves. He dies. He leaves the mill to his son, and his son is described as a guy that's more interested in, um, books and sort of, I wouldn't say dark things, but at the time, people would be like, "Oh, that guy's kind of an odd guy," you know what I mean? Into like
Maybe
paranormal things.
like that witchcraft, like that
Yeah,
dark witchcraft,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
where you
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
looked
So
into. Okay.
yeah, that's where we're kind of getting at. So this is obviously just legend. And so the legend is
Right.
there's this guy going home from, I don't know, from where, drinking, wherever, walking by the mill. And the guy's like, wait a minute. And he listens and he hears the mill running at night. And obviously this is a time before electricity. There he's like, this is impossible. There's no way, because it's very dangerous to run a mill at night with saws running, and it'd be very absurd to do that by candlelight.
Right.
So rumors start to spread that, oh, this guy's running this mill with satanic help. He's using, and so that turns
Okay.
into, yeah, so that turns into he's running the mill with satanic imps, which I think is weird, like little creatures that
It's
are
just
helping.
so crazy. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
just
absolutely, it's
just
absurd.
let the man work.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the legend, that like that's how he's able to run the mill at night and make so much money, all this stuff. So that's like the legend, of that.
Okay.
So that was an interesting like story to tell. Now I do have a couple things that happened real time there that I do remember, because I thought with going into legend like this, oh, it's like, oh, this guy probably is innocent and he's not like into witchcraft at all, and
Right.
it's just like a tall
Just a guy
tale.
who, yeah, just a
Yeah.
guy who wanted to work at night, and
Yep.
y'all crazy.
Yeah, 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 exactly. But what I found interesting, obviously I haven't gone over the evidence yet, but what I do remember in real time, I remember in the spirit box, I got one of the responses was mystical.
Okay.
I got his name, Nathan, and then what was the other word? Seance or something like that. So I was like, that's interesting. You know what I mean?
So
Like I said,
maybe
possibility. Maybe he was interested in, not necessarily witchcraft, but
seances,
ghosts, spirits,
yeah,
like things at the time people would be like, oh, you know, this guy's, you know, no good, or
Right, you're weird. It's kind of like,
yeah,
it's kind of like the Salem witch trials. You
right, right,
so he was
exactly.
into, he was into working at night or whatever,
Yeah.
and people thought wrong.
Yeah, so
Um,
exactly. And so it's really like a cool little story. So I'm excited to like retell that and actually see what evidence and see if this land's actually haunted or not. So I think that's cool as
okay.
far as something I got coming down the pipe. Now I just did something recently that was like the first time I've ever done. I did somebody's actual home. Now, not
Okay.
actually the home itself, but I did like the haunted woods behind their home.
Okay.
Um
I'm getting into some like
Home stuff?
personal investigations as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah,
yeah, that
absolutely.
those are definitely very interesting compared to like places that everybody has gone. So
Sure, absolutely. And I think I think it's cool if you get a good spot when like cuz I had my friend Christine, she told me this story years ago, and then she finally like she was like, "Oh, you got to come investigate my mom's like woods and stuff." So basically, she has this encounter where she's and this is what's kind of creepy because it's like in her backyard of like and just like we're talking 50 feet from 75 feet from her back door. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, so to have something happen that close to your house, I think is kind of off-putting. So she's out there. It's, you know, she's a teenager. She's kind of going in the woods just to kind of draw and stuff like that. So she's out there, she's drawing, she's doing her thing, right? All of a sudden, she hears like footsteps in the woods, right? And so she looks up, she looks around, she can't find no one there.
what is it about the
Classic,
woods, man?
dude, classic, right? So she looks down again, she starts drawing again, then she starts hearing it. So she's like, you know what, this time I'm just gonna listen and see where if I can pinpoint it. So it gets closer, and then all of a sudden this huge gust of wind pops out of nowhere. She says her hair goes up straight, like on end, all the way up,
Right.
and then she hears in her ear, "Get out," just like
Nope.
that.
Nope. No, I'm out. No, I'm out. I'm out. No, I'm telling you, when things tell me to get out or leave or come see me, I am
Yeah,
out.
yeah, dude. I don't blame you.
Can't.
I don't
I
blame you.
can't. Like,
I don't blame you.
I've had too much things happen when I don't listen, and like, if anything is in my ear telling me, I'm gone.
Dude, absolutely. So she tells me this and I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy." What I think is remarkable about this whole thing is I went back like 20 something years later, and let me tell you, dude, that land is still haunted. And there is still
That's.
something there.
Is there a legend about it? Like
No,
about the
not at
land?
all. Not I mean, it's in the Bridgewater Triangle. So
Right. So just
like
that legend, but
right, right. So but something tells me there's something
crazy.
ancient and something old
Okay.
there.
Like
That
maybe a
like that's
burial ground around there, maybe, or
something or like Fey
okay,
folk or I mean it was very whatever the entity was it wasn't nice necessarily.
okay,
Like
okay. Do you think
what
that maybe somebody opened something up who maybe lived there prior?
could be definitely could be possible for sure.
I always
Yeah.
think about that when people say that it's kind of dark because nothing just shows up dark. Like
Hmm.
at least from what I've seen, I don't feel like anything just kind of goes, "Hey guys, I'm here and I'm an asshole and I'm a dark entity." Like nobody. I don't think that's just like a normal thing. I feel like you
Yeah,
gotta
for
conjure
sure.
it up. Like
Yeah, right. Yeah, so yeah, it makes you wonder what's going on. Now, some of the
right.
Native American legends in my area, they did have certain areas in this area where they said evil dwelt.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like, you know,
I mean, but that's different because that's still something being per
yeah,
se conjured up.
yes, right. Yeah,
Just more of a cultural thing, which
yeah,
is
sure.
which is cool. Just like skinwalkers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so
yeah,
yeah,
but
there's definitely some
yeah, that
interesting
sounds
evidence in that
interesting
one.
that
Yeah, for sure. And like I said,
you're
I
gonna
think
have a
going back,
legend.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
you got a legend, and then you're going to be doing like a home style investigation.
Yeah. So a lot of that, a lot of like King Philip's War, where I do like
Oh
different
wow,
battle
okay.
sites and stuff like that, and kind of retell the history and then do a paranormal investigation
A
along with
lot of
it.
people don't do that anymore. They just go straight to Gettysburg, and that's it.
Yeah,
Nobody even thinks about the other wars.
yeah,
So that's really
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, definitely. And some of these stories are stories that haven't been shared or only certain people know. So it's like I said, it's good I
Right.
think to get these stories out there and into the world and
Oh,
stuff.
most definitely.
Yeah.
So do you have anything like specific that you maybe kind of wanted to talk about when I invited you to be on? Because it kind of seemed like you were like really, really ready to kind of
Yeah.
talk. So is
Yeah,
there
for
like
sure.
anything that you kind of want to just throw out to everybody before we sign off for the night, for the
Yeah,
episode?
sure.
Is there anything you just want to kind of like, hey, I've been wanting to talk about this, but I didn't know how to put it like into a video or tweet about it, or
Sure,
you know.
sure. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, so there's been a few things lately I've been, kind of thinking about. Now, I'll ask you because you investigate. How many
Okay.
times do you get your name said on average?
Oh man.
Like, is it happen a lot or is it just like randomly
Per,
kind of?
per investigation lately, it's been about twice in each investigation.
Mhm.
Um, since you brought that up, I will. So this trip that I just took to Ohio and Indiana, um, literally the second night we didn't even do anything. We were just kind of urban exploring the Indiana State Sanitarium, and we were downstairs, just looking around, doing the exploring, and you know how like older women have kind of like that raspy voice,
Mm-hmm.
like as if they smoked for years, or they just
Sure.
kind of like can't clear their throat. All of a sudden, it's quiet as all get out, and I just hear in my ear, Josh. But it was like in a raspy, like older woman's
Mm-hmm.
voice. And I'm like, huh? And I literally sling around. You can like see my camera. It's gonna like move. And there's nobody there. I mean, the people that I'm investigating with, one is like way over here, the other one's way over here, and the one's upstairs. And I heard it as if it was in my ears. And my one friend comes out and he goes, "Did you just hear your name get called?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was like in my ear." He goes, "It sounded like it echoed through the building." And I'm like, "What?" So, yes, I've had my name too many times, and when it happens, it seems to be the crazy ones. It can't just come through the spirit box. Like, you gotta whisper in my ear.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
So,
the reason
yeah,
why I asked that, because yeah, it's been the same thing for me too. Like I would say last like 4 or 5 months, it's just like every time I go,
right
I
now,
get
yeah,
my
right
name
now it's
said.
been a constant thing that I should not be as surprised as I am when it happens.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
just so shocking. Like, these people don't know my name, but I mean, I introduce myself, but you wouldn't think that they would actually be listening that much. So it's a very, it's a very common thing now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know. I could probably set up a spirit box in my room right here in my studio, and something could say my name. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
Like, it's that much that I feel like it can happen anywhere.
Yeah, I no, I totally agree. I mean, I've had it happen like down in Tennessee, I've never to a place I've never even been before. You know what I
Yeah, I had
mean?
it happen
So,
to me at Elkmont. At Elkmont, that's when I first had it happen to me.
yeah.
Um,
No,
I was
dude,
kind of walking
I
around.
have a million stories about Alkmaar, as you know.
I was walking around like those buildings, the buildings, like the older homes,
Yeah.
and for some reason, I just felt like I couldn't go inside any of them, and like I feel a little tickle in my ear, and I just hear my name, like so
Hmm.
softly, like nobody else heard it. And I'm just like, yeah, I think we're just gonna stick with doing the trails and finding the old hotel. And I'm like, I'm not feeling like going into those buildings. Then I watch your video of you going in them at night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't step foot in
Yeah.
there.
Oh, absolutely. And your
Yeah,
feelings were
Elkhart is
right,
such a crazy place.
dude.
It's
Yep.
I want to do more when I go out to Tennessee next, because I don't feel like I got enough. Like, the cemetery gave me a lot, the old hotel gave me a lot, but I just feel like I need more answers because I don't
Hmm.
feel like I got enough.
Yeah, for sure. And Elkmont is absolutely crazy.
And
Absolutely
not a lot of
crazy.
people know about it. Like, not a lot of people
Hmm.
even know like the legends of it, or like that it used to be it basically was an old community, and it just
Yeah.
kind of got swept away from
Hmm.
not having enough
Existence.
money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, no, that place is absolutely wild. I had some like just I mean, I've had a million different experiences there that are just absolutely wild. But I did want to while I'm on here, I did want to mention something that two things have happened to me recently that's made me think like I'll just tell you what happened and then you can You're like, yeah, I
Okay.
think you're probably right. So it's two separate occasions, right? So this first time I'm in the Huckamuck Swamp, and I'm walking down the pathway, and I'm walking down this area where I've caught many EVPs before, just in this one particular area. Now, what's weird about this EVP capture, I'll just tell you what happened. So I'm walking down, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I say, unprovoked, I'm not with anyone, it's just me. I say out of nowhere, what's wrong, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I say that, and in the moment after I say that, I'm like, why did I say that? I'm thinking to myself.
It was kind of like a rhetorical thing. Like you weren't actually like, asking. You were just
No.
Okay.
Like it was one of those things where I was like, why did I say that? And so I kind of say it, and then I'm thinking to myself, why did I say that? And then so what's weird about this is I go back home and I listen to the audio. So right before I say what's wrong, I catch an EVP, and the EVP says, "Oh no." So, yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, did I somehow maybe heard it and then just responded to it without even realizing it? Or did that, I don't know. I don't know what, I don't know what happened, but all I know is,
Wow.
yeah. And this happened twice to me. It happened again. And it happened in that place I just talked about with my friend, her story. So it happened again. So I'm walking in the woods, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I say evil. Right? Out of nowhere, I say evil. Then I catch an EVP. Yeah. EVP, best thing I can make out, it says Nova or something to that effect. I couldn't quite make out what it was saying. Okay. Right? So it's just, like I said, another experience where out of nowhere I'm saying something and then catching an EVP right after, and then it seems like I'm either responding to or hearing it.
It's almost like something like had you feeling a type of way.
Yes.
Like it was almost possessing you, but not really.
Yeah. Like I'm feeling the emotions or something or whatever.
Right. And I just had an experience like that when I was on my trip in Ohio. But yeah, that's crazy to be like, say something that you don't even understand why you're saying it.
Yeah. And yeah, it was really strange.
And to be alone is even worse, because that means you actually were thinking about talking to somebody or asking that question to somebody, and nobody was there.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So, and then to get the EVP correlating with like, yeah, that's why you said that. And
exactly. It's like, so it's almost it knew you were wanting to talk to whatever it was, or it forced you to say something so it could answer because it didn't know how to speak first.
Yeah, right.
Which is still insane. Like,
yeah, it's just weird, man. Weird.
You get into some crazy stuff, man.
Yes, yeah. Keep me in your prayers.
Yeah, I thought I got into some stuff. No, you got stuff just messing with you all the time.
Yeah, dude. I know, dude. It's never ending. But yeah. So that's just like something that's those two things that were just. I've been thinking about them just because I'm like, oh, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Just kind of weird, Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. It
always makes you like, it kind of gives you that spine tingling feeling because you almost had no control in that moment. You literally didn't know why you asked the question or why you said evil. Like you're just there, It's I understand those feelings. It's like, and I don't even have a word to describe it. Like you hear me, I'm kind of just like babbling because being in that spot in that moment, you really don't know what to say. And then after like talking to somebody who's also experienced it, you don't know what to say to them either, because it's just like, yep, it happened.
Right. Yeah. It's just like one of the weird things that happens in paranormal investigating for sure. Like I said, I don't know what it means, but if something like that happens again, I'll be messaging you and be like, yo, dude, it happened again.
Exactly. Now I got one more question.
Yeah.
Before we call it a night. Was there a point in time on an investigation anywhere that you thought you were going to, like, it got too much and you thought you were going to be done investigating for good? Like, is there maybe an experience you had to where you were just really terrified and wanted to be done, or maybe you got physically harmed or even mentally harmed? Because I know that I've had a few experiences not too long ago where I kind of thought I was going to be done. So I just kind of like to ask that question to
For
anybody
sure.
I talk to.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I've been lucky and fortunate enough, by the grace of God, I usually pray before and after every investigation and all that to try to like protect myself from any sort of harm. So I've been lucky in that way. I will say I came close, and the closest time I ever came was at Elkmont. And this experience was, I cannot express how different this feeling was, because I've been there a couple times. And this one particular night, it was like completely different than every other night I've ever been there. To me, it felt like it was like a strategic like hit that was planned, and that they were gonna try, or entities or dark entities were gonna try to hurt me and Jason that night. That I'm not even joking. That's what it felt like. You know what I mean? Like best way I can describe it is spiritual warfare, because that's what it is. It's not physical warfare necessarily. I mean, sometimes it can turn into that, like you can get scratched or whatever, but usually
It's almost like the sky is crushing down on you. Like that's how much force is around you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and it's just like you could just, I could. It was one of those situations where you could just feel the darkness and the entities around you. I mean, at one point, I mean, I'm standing in the street, and I just know I can feel them there, and I'm just like, why? It's like you don't have to hide, and we catch an EVP. Why? You're like, why do I have to come out? You know what I mean?
That dark cloud just starts to roll in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they're asking you questions as to why you're asking questions, and it's almost like they know that they're messing with you, and they're okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was one of those things where it was like it was in the shadows all night long. Like in the moment, we felt like we weren't really getting a lot of responses or spirit, but you know, like it was weird because we were feeling
it was a silent night, but you knew that you were being watched and kind of played around with.
Right. See, that's what's weird about it. In the moment, it felt like it was a silent night. Of course, afterwards, we listened to the EVP. Like it wasn't. It was a crazy active night, but it was a weird sensation. You know what I mean?
That's kind of how Elkmont was for me as well. Like it felt so just like I didn't get enough evidence.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like I just heard my door open. That's why I looked back. It sounded like my door open, and I'm talking about all of this stuff.
Yeah, dude. It's Elkmont, dude. Elkmont's a whole other animal.
But like, I had left like from investigating, so I was done for the day, and I felt disappointed. I was like, I don't feel like I got anything, and I was there for 4 hours, man. Like from the time the park opened. 4 hours from then, and I felt like I didn't do enough. But then I get home, I have like a 50-minute video of just complete evidence that makes sense. Like it just all sounded crazy to me, but then I was like putting it in order, and it's like, so even Elkmont woke me up. So after that night, were you kind of considering being done, or were you kind of considering at least taking a break? Like, was it too much?
Like in the moment, it was weird in the moment for sure. I mean, I didn't really necessarily ever consider quitting. But it was definitely one of those things where it was like, dude, that was really weird, and so much so that
for a little bit.
For sure. And it was one of those. I mean, I'll be honest, it was one of those moments where we were like, well, I have to go back now. Because like I have to verify that this was the same feeling, and then we go back the next night, and it's like it's a completely different feeling. But one of the guys we were with did get his arm hit by some sort of unseen force.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? So and we caught just
I was a horsefly, but you know.
Right. We still caught a crazy amount of evidence there. You know, I got my name set in the EVP that like just like you said that echoed. That echo sounded like it echoed through the whole room, like it was a female voice from like another room, saying my full name. So that's kind of creepy. And I heard that real time, and I was like, did you guys hear that? And he's like, I heard that, And I was
so you
like,
never really had a time where you thought about quitting, just maybe like in the moment you're like, let me like step back for a minute.
Right. I would say not from like being scared, but being like down on myself or being I'm not good enough, or no one's no one cares for me, that kind of like, I would say more so that than actual like a investigation or something like that.
Have you done the old Elkmont Cemetery while you were there? The one that's
No,
up on the hill down the road.
I'm trying to think.
It's like
We went to
it's the original one.
Okay,
The
not the new
original,
one, right? Because we went to
not the
the
new one.
Okay.
It's the original. Like it has the old literal Elkmont Cemetery sign, like it's etched into
Oh,
the
okay.
wood and it's fenced off. That was where I got a lot
Okay.
of like you could tell the pioneers were all buried there basically from
Okay.
that
Gotcha.
from that village.
Yeah, no, no, I unfortunately I haven't, but now I have a new
You'll
spot to go
have
to.
to yeah,
Yeah.
you'll have to go there for
And
sure. I got
you also said another location there too. There's an old hotel as well.
yeah, okay, so where those buildings were that you guys went inside, like where they're all kind of stacked together.
Yeah.
So there's the parking lot on the right. There is a trail up on the left-hand side. And you
Okay.
got to walk for about, I think it's about maybe half a mile. And off to the left, there are pieces left, like chimney stacks and everything, pieces left of the old
Oh,
hotel that was there.
okay.
And the hotel was basically the main source of income for people who weren't logging, because remember that was a logging town. That
Mm-hmm.
was
Yep.
that's how they made their money. So the hotel was basically a hangout for the rich, but it was a way for the poor to make their money because they could be servers, hotel attendants, they could be front desk employees. And so when that you know went away as well, that's when everything really started going downhill for the town of
Elkhorn.
Elkmont.
Yeah.
There was no way to make money anymore.
Yeah, that's super sad. Yeah, I didn't know about those other two locations, so next time I
Yeah,
go, I'm gonna have to check those
and
out.
it's very active at the hotels or
Cool.
at the hotel site because there's just a lot of different spirits there. Like I got some kids I talked to, they loved
Interesting.
to play ball. I talked to a woman who actually was outside drinking, coffee one morning, and that's when the fire happened at the hotel. And yeah, I just got so many different pieces of evidence that literally almost mimicked the history of it. And I don't ever read the history of the place until I'm done investigating so that I can go in with an open mind. So it was crazy to like tell the story when I put the history in my video and then go back and look at it. And it's like, it basically mimicked what I said.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
isn't that wild?
you definitely have to go and explore that a lot. And if you get a chance to as well, right before we sign off, try to do Cade's Cove if you get a chance. There is so much there.
Yes.
I unfortunately didn't have time to investigate Elkmont and Cade's Cove because
Mm-hmm.
it was just too time consuming for
Yeah,
both.
for sure.
But Cade's Cove is the little bit that I could feel when I was driving through Cade's Cove. It's a spot. It's a
Dude,
hot spot.
I'll
I mean, there's
I'll let
cemeteries right there,
yes.
literally,
Mm-hmm.
100
Mm-hmm.
feet from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
So,
so I'll let you know, I did go there, and I have done a
okay.
video in Kate's Cove, and
Okay.
yes, it is. What's really
I'll have
weird
to
is,
check
okay,
it out.
yeah, dude, what's really weird about Kate's Cove, just real quick before we wrap up,
Yeah,
is
no
when you're
worries.
driving through, right? When you drive through, look at the cemeteries and look how much kids there are. The majority of the
Yes.
cemeteries are mostly children,
Yes.
which
And I
is,
did notice that a lot.
yes, wild, absolutely wild.
Maybe, just maybe, we can figure out a collab and do Cade's Cove and Elkmont together.
Dude, hell
Whether
yeah.
it be 2 days, I could make a trip,
Yeah,
we
hell
can
yeah.
figure out something because
Dude, for
we
sure.
seem to really click when it comes to Elkmont and Cade's Cove. Because the
Yeah.
minute I posted about Elkmont, you were like, bro, no way.
Yeah.
Like you like clicked real quick when I started posting my pictures and stuff.
Yeah,
And you were
hell
like,
yeah.
let's, so maybe, just
Yeah,
maybe we need
dude,
to
that
link
would be
up and
incredible.
figure out how to do.
Yeah,
Because I also sent you a picture of my project coming up, which I haven't released yet,
yeah,
about legends and cryptids, and I'm going to be heading your way pretty soon for
yeah.
Bridgewater Triangle.
Bridgewater Triangle, dude. I'm
So,
stoked about that. I'm so
yeah.
stoked about. I got a million different
We're gonna have
spots.
to link up a
So,
lot. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep in contact and make sure we do some collabs this year.
oh
Because
hell yeah, dude.
I mean, we've literally been talking for what seems like ever. I'm serious. Like,
I
so
know,
it's
I
time
know, I
It's
know,
time to make something happen for real.
dude. Hell
Um,
yeah.
just to close it off, just let everybody know where they can follow you and your YouTube channel and just everything that anybody needs to know or that you would like to tell them.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you can find me at Exploring with Phill. That's Phill with two L's. Basically on every social media platform. I think on X it's under exploring underscore Phill or whatever it is. It's a little different. But outside of that, yeah, Exploring with Phill, Phill with two L's. On YouTube, I do weekly YouTube videos, minus 1 week out of the month. I do take a 1 week break now. But yeah, weekly YouTube videos, paranormal. I do a little bit of abandon when I can. But yeah,
And he'll be
basically,
linked in the description below,
yep,
so you'll be able to easily find him. Thank you so much
yeah.
for coming on, and thank you for being my first guest ever. Like I said, this has been just my podcast alone has been in the works for a while. So to get you on finally, because we've been talking forever, is awesome. So thank you for taking the time to talk with me and talk all things paranormal and give my viewers something to talk about, and maybe they will find some interest in your stuff because you put out some badass content. And yeah, just thank you for being on my podcast, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, man. I can't wait to collab this year because that is definitely going to happen 100%.
Yes,
And we got to make
100.
that Tennessee trip happen as well. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Alrighty.
hell yeah.
Well, with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this episode, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And with that being said, the first episode of Realm of the Dead, a paranormal podcast, is over. Peace.